Well, it's time to do some at-home tire changing because I've had these Mickey Thompsons right here, ET Street R's, for a year and a half. And I'm gonna do a video talking about the tires themselves, how many passes I got them and all that. That's gonna be separate. Today, we're actually gonna go through the process of unmounting these tires and then mounting new tires on. So right here we got the Billet Specialties wind lights. They are a single bead lock. They're 17 by 10 inches. And I originally mounted these myself, and I do have a separate video when I first got these of mounting them and then also fitting the wheels on the car. So I'll link to that video right up here. So we've got a pair of Hoosier DBRs, pretty much the same size, but a little bit different. The ET Street R's have a little bit more, well, used to have a little bit more tread pattern. But again, we'll compare these later on. So let's go ahead and get to dismounting. First things first, we need to let all the air out because you don't want to be doing this with air in. Okay, now the easiest way to do this, actually, you have a valve course stem removal tool. You can just go ahead and pull that out and it'll be a whole lot faster. But that works for now. Okay, now next step, you want to go ahead and loosen all these bolts, but I'm going to loosen them a little bit first, then bring out my electric drill to get them out completely. Now, you want to go ahead and do this in the exact opposite way that you install the bead lock. And that is, you don't want to just go in a circle. That's not good because all the pressure release here, pressure here, and that could bend the bead lock. So we're going to do the usual crisscross pattern. So let's go ahead and do it, and I'm just going to speed through this really quick. Okay, I think I got them all. Now it's time for the electric drill. Okay, they're all loose. Let's pull them all out. And they do all have washers. All right, and then put all your bolts in some sort of box so you don't lose any washers or anything. Pull the bead ring off, and you just want to take a look at it, look for any cracks, anything like that. All the bolt holes here, and definitely look on the back side because this is where you'll see stuff. Everything looks good. And then check it, make sure it's straight. Looks good to me, does not look warped at all. So now we got that off. Notice this side of the bead comes off because that ring is what's holding it in there. And you definitely want to inspect the holes on the wheel too. So now before we reinstall, we are going to wash everything, clean it up really good. So don't worry about that. But now the hard part. But really quick before we get to that, check this out. You could see how well that bead lock ring works and how well it clamps down because you've got the knurling pattern perfectly imprinted all along this bead. And that pattern is from this. So the hard part is the other side. This inner bead, this is going to be a pain in the butt. Now there's all kinds of tricks. People use like floor jacks and straps and all sorts of tricks out there to just kind of jack this up and get this off the bead. The hardest part though is you want to make sure you do not damage this wheel. Now I know you see that there's some paint chipping off here, but I bought these used. So next step, let me figure out what I'm gonna do to get this bead broken. I may just head over to a shop and just have them do it for me. We'll see, I'll figure it out. We'll be back once I do. All right, and we're back. So I watched some videos how to do it on your own using a floor jack and straps and doing all this crazy stuff to jack it up. And honestly, I did try it. And I decided not to record it because I was like, well, let me try it on one, see what happens. And then if it works, then I'll do a second one. But the problem was I only had one strap. I couldn't find a second one. And then it just wasn't coming up for me. And I think I may have damaged it. So let's take a look at this. There's two little grooves right here. And I think I might have did that. Honestly, I don't know for sure. But the distance of it matches up perfectly with this saddle right here, or underneath the saddle, and I think I may have done that. So I decided, let me just take it to a shop, have them do it. So what I did, I actually had to take the truck in to get a state inspection today, and the shop I take it to, they do all sorts of stuff, general stuff, mechanics, tires. So I actually just gave them a $20 bill, be like, hey, break the beads for me. And it literally, I mean, that's probably the easiest 20 bucks they ever made, because it literally took them like 1 minute. I was like, just break the beads, don't worry about anything else, just because they want to charge me originally 25 bucks per tire. And I'm like, for breaking a bead, I'm like, I'm sure I can stop by some other tire shop and just toss them a $20 bill. But then I was like, here, come look at what I got. And so I showed him what it was. He looked at it, was like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty easy. He's like, you just want bead broken? That's all I need, bead broken. So they did that for me. So now we just have to pull the tire off. Now it's a little bit, so what we got to do is just kind of keep yanking it. It comes out a little bit at a time. There we go. Okay. So you can see this barrel is pretty wider here, so I just had to slowly push it off there. Now we just got to get it past this bead, which isn't too hard, just get it started. So once you get it started, super easy, and there we go. So with that done, you don't need to see me washing these. I will be back when I'm ready to install the new Hoosiers. Okay, so we're back. And I got these cleaned up, dried off, we're good to go. Now we need to put the tires on. I already put one on. I didn't finish beading it or anything because I want to show this part first. So when you put these tires on, you want to make sure first, are the tires directional? If they are, you need to make sure you orient them the right way. If you put them both in the same direction, that's not going to work. So the easiest way, you don't have to think about what side what goes on. Just lay both your wheels flat and put one tire one direction and one the other direction. As long as you can put them in opposite directions, you're fine. One will go on, you'll figure out which side to go on later. That said, these Hoosiers are not directional. The only kind of tread they have are these wear indicators, and they're kind of in a diagonal shape, but they're not really tread, so it really doesn't matter. Plus, with these, you have one side has the white lettering, and the other side has no, well, has the lettering, but it's all black. So, obviously, if they were directional, you would have white lettering on one side and not on the other unless they made it the correct way. Now actually, if you go to their site, look in their facts, it pretty much says that every Hoosier they have can all be mounted either way. Now me, I am putting it white lettering out because my front tires are Hoosiers and those are white lettering out, and I kind of like that look, so that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so now, if you look at this, these are a little bit tougher in a way than the Mickeys were. The Mickeys were much more solid. I mean, look at this. So here's my old Mickeys. Like, these are very solid tires. In fact, you never saw a wrinkle in them. I guarantee you, these things are gonna wrinkle like crazy. So because of that, it's a little different. You can't just, like with the Mickeys, I just put all my weight on it and it eventually popped. With these, it's so flexible, that trick doesn't work. But what you do wanna do is get some soapy water and spray the side that you're gonna put in. Now, I actually got this Dawn Power Wash stuff, which is really awesome. No, this is not a plug for this stuff, but it works very good for this purpose too. So I'm just gonna go all around. Okay, so with that all lubed up, I'm gonna just bring the tire over here. And then what you wanna do, what I did is just get one side started. You can see it's kind of on this part here, and then slowly just push on that tire, and this power wash really, I mean, that's actually really easy. Of course, now it's got to go onto the barrel, and there it is. So this was actually a lot easier to mount than the Mickeys were. And the other thing I like, notice it's got a seat sit inside of this ring, and this is actually perfect. With the Mickeys, it was actually a little smaller diameter opening, so it kept wanting to pop up on one side. This one is not. So now if you look at the back side, it's not all the way to the bead, but it's resting against the barrel. So once we get the Beadlock ring on, all we have to do, bust out the air compressor, air it up, and it'll pop out. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, let's go ahead and install this Beadlock ring. Okay, so I got all my bolts, got my anti-seize. You definitely always want to put a little anti-seize on this. So I had it on before, makes the bolts come out. This was 1.5 years later. So first we line up this Beadlock. Now some Beadlocks on some wheels, there's like a notch or something to tell you where to line it up, and usually that notch will line up with the valve stem. These rings do not have any type of notch or anything, so there really is no exact way that you need to do it. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the valve stem right between the Made in USA. That way, when I need to air up my tires, air them down, I look for the USA to know exactly where it is instead of searching around for where that dang valve stem is. So with that lined up, now I'm just gonna go one by one. We're gonna speed through this. So I'm gonna take a bolt, put a little anti-seize, get it started. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, using this electric drill, I'm just gonna get them all further all the way down so at least the head is down to the ring. That way there's less tightening. So I'm not, like, again, I'm not gonna start tightening yet. So let me just get that started first. Now, as you saw, basically I took it till basically it kind of stopped. Once it kind of made contact, I let go. And I still in a zigzag pattern, even though that initial part, probably not as important. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to slowly hand tighten a little bit of time in a cross pattern, like several times. So I'm not gonna crank each one down all the way, because as this is going down, the beadlock ring is connecting to the wheel, but it's also smushing or smashing the rubber of the bead. So what you'll notice is, as you tighten them up slowly, once you get them all tightened, the bead starts settling, starts smushing, and then it keeps tightening even more. So I'm just gonna go through a few rounds, crisscrossing back and forth, hand tightening like a couple turns at a time until we get to the point where we're ready to torque them down. So let's speed through that. Okay, so I don't even know how many times I counted, and I'm sure I missed a couple, like on a turn, maybe I skipped over one, but I did so many times, I know I got each one. They're all good, they're all smashed. So now it's time to bring out the torque wrench. So now, according to Billet Specialties, you're supposed to torque these down to 18 foot-pounds. Now this one only goes up to 200 inch-pounds. So because we have 18 foot-pounds, we can convert it to inches, and it's exactly what you would think it is. There's 12 inches in a foot, and that's how you convert it. So it's just 18 feet times 12, and that equals 216 inch-pounds. Now this one only goes up to 200, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna max it out, go till it clicks, and then we're gonna do one final go around, and that extra little click should take it closer to 18 foot-pounds. Because for those that don't know, this is a lesson I learned that was drilled into me when I was in the Air Force. When you're working with torque wrenches, you set the torque, you only ever go to the first click. So some people, you'll see some people set it, go, click, and then do it a second time. Well, that second time you do it actually applies a little more torque than what the torque wrench is set to. That's how I know if I go a second time, it's gonna torque it just a little bit more than a 200. And actually, before I speed through it, for this, I'm gonna try and be a little bit more sure. So I'm gonna use a little marker. We're gonna start here, and I'm gonna move directly across. So as I go, I'm gonna move that marker. All right, now let's speed through it. All right. We got it all. So we got them all torqued down. Sorry, I got my little air compressor running right now so we can fill these up. The camera overheated and died, so we came back, I went and did the other wheel, so I got both these torqued down. Now we got to air them up. So you can see, again, it's not fully seated, but you should hear it pop as soon as it does. So let's go ahead and start airing it up. Did you hear that? It popped. That one was actually kind of loud. The Mickeys did not pop that loud. But there we go. All the way around. It's good. Let's just see, how much did we get to do that? 14 PSI. But it actually would have been higher than that before it popped because there was less space. And as soon as it popped, it opened up space, so that dropped pressure. So I'm not sure how much pressure there was before it popped. I'm gonna air it up to higher than what I need to track just to put more pressure on a bead to make sure it seats really, really good. And then I'll air them down before I use them at the track the first time. Okay, now with that one done, let's do the second one really quick, because let's hear that pop again. All right, so now I'm gonna air this one up to about 40, 30, between 35, 40 PSI too. And then tomorrow morning I have an appointment at Discount Tire to get these balanced. All right, so we're here at Discount Tire. Just got done balancing my tires. Cost me $44, $22 per tire. So they got the weights on there, took the old ones off. That's pretty much it. So these wheels are now ready to go on and see some drag strip use. All right, and we say goodbye to Discount Tire on my way back home. And we might as well wrap the video up now because there's really nothing else to show you with the Beadlock wheels. So that is the process and how you mount them. If you have brand new wheels, obviously you don't have to worry about breaking a bead, so you can do it all at home. But yeah, that's the plus side of single bead locks. So yeah, they're a little more expensive than non-bead locks. You need them, depends on a car. We're not talking about that here in this video. But one thing they do is save you a little bit of money because you can mount the tires yourself. And with that, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helped you out. If you have other tips that you know about that maybe I haven't thought about that could help me in the future, let me know. If you have your own way of breaking the bead at home that you think works really good, let me know. I learned a lot from you guys too. You guys bring up some stuff that I didn't think about before. Hopefully these tires last me for at least another year, year and a half, maybe like the Mickeys did. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you at the drag strip.